Here's hoping that all is well with you. It is actually time for In Focus. Thank you for making time. Thank you for always choosing to be part of this particular program. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. And of course, we so far know what we'll be talking about tonight. I know we do not have much time, already 2 minutes into the program. This is definitely our updated panel. I definitely want to apologize for not having considered several issues, but of course we did try our best to ensure that this panel is as inclusive as it can. Sometimes it's not easy, but thank you for always being there to actually make sure that we do what is actually right in this particular area. So we're talking about the issue of moral policing or genuine concerns. This is definitely stemming from the latest that we all know so far. Of course, social media has been alight over the issue of female rapper Oda Pasi. Of course, there's been a lot of concern. She has been stripped of her Itorero name in Dargatavigui. Okay, that is what has been taken off from her, courtesy of the National Itorero Commission. And of course, what we also know is that Profem Twese Hamwe has actually also issued a statement, or did write a letter to the Ministry of Sports and Culture, requesting the ministry to actually put in place measures that are aimed at dealing with all artistic work that brings shame. This is definitely what they were saying. Of course, the letter said that the organization had seen pictures, words, videos that actually bring shame, and of course promoted by some artists in Rwanda, particularly by this lady called Oda Pasi. And of course the organization denounced the female rapper's work, and of course said that it demeaned and of course devalued women. Of course, Profem Twese Hamwe says that everything about the female rapper's work goes against Rwandan cultural values. And of course, we want to just take some time and talk about this particular issue right here on the program. What forms Rwanda's moral values? Of course, we'll definitely be able to look into this particular issue. You've been sending your tweets. Let's take a look at that. Is this something that is of genuine concern as far as the actions that have been taken by the Executive Secretary of the National Itorero Commission? Let's take a look at some of the tweets that have been coming through. Nsanga Sylvie says, thanks, Eugene, for this great panel. Hope will explain us the ban of Percy's recent song on fighting drugs, which affect the young generation. An artist innovative on how to transmit his message, what is culture in regard to freedom. We definitely have the Executive Secretary of the Rwanda National Language and Culture Commission. He's actually here with us in the program. We've also seen Ladislas, who says that this would degenerate into activism and quarrels, of course, in relation to the fact that we needed to have more panels. And of course, he says the society needs voices that are representative and authoritative. The panel is balanced, and freedom of expression should not infringe on moral values. I think Bamoriki needs to be supported accordingly. Definitely, that's a tweet in support of the action that was taken right there. So we want you to keep tweeting. There are more of them keeping, of course, coming over, and we will be coming back to look into these particular tweets. All you need to do is simply add the hashtag InFocusRW. Let me just introduce our panelists that we have right about now. Some changes here and there, but of course, show has to go on. Of course, we have none other than Dr. James Buningoma, who's the Executive Secretary of Rwanda Academy of Language and Culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting
us. It's great to have you right on the program.
Absolutely.
Right, and of course, also with us is Chantal Muhoza, who's actually a feminist and a gender activist. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
And also with us, thank you so much actually for graciously accepting to come through on last minute. DJ Pius, he's actually an artist. Of course, Julian Kaibanda of the Profem Twese Hamwe, the Vice Chair, has just told me now that she cannot be able to make it on the program. Edward Bamoriki, Executive Secretary, National Itorero Commission, was not able to also make it right here in studio, but we have spoken earlier on with Edward Bamoriki, and of course, just to set the tone of this conversation, and of course, I'm told later on Julian will join us also on the phone right here on this program. Let's take a look at what Edward Bamoriki had to say, because one of the things that we were finding out or asking him is whether he has any plans to actually apologize, because most of you are saying that the message in that song by Oda Pasi is actually a positive message. Did he judge a song by its cover, literally? Let's take a listen to what he had to say earlier on.
Yeah, thank you very much for the call. And the reason why we send that letter out is because Pasi is in Hore. She was trained as in that degree. And when you are in Hore, you are trained at the end of the training, you sign the contract, what we call imhigo. So when you are against it, it means the Itore has power to come to you and tell you that you are no longer Itore. And I'm sure this was very new because she was the first one to get this. And I'm sure it's ongoing because we are trained to be good Itore in the society. And if we are not doing what we signed for sure something has to happen.
So let's take a few minutes and talk about this training. You say that the Inores are trained. So let's talk about what exactly were they trained, or what exactly was Pasi trained that she went against?
So actually, during this Itorero, like other trainings, we mainly teach values. And when we are talking about values, it's all about the heritage that we get from the old generation. So it's about being good example in the society. So when you are training business people, it's not the same when you are training the journalists. It's not the same when you are training the musicians, because they are all in Hore, but the way we train them, we train them differently. So we wanted them to be good examples in terms of giving a message. When you are giving a message and you are in Hore, you really have to be careful, because when you give a message that you will abuse the society, let's take an example of that picture she published on the media. When a kid of 5 years is seeing that picture, it's leave something bad in the memory of kid. Whomever managed to see the picture, he came with the question of who is this? Why this picture of what I will call hidden part of the body outside in social media? So when we were training them, actually I was not the chairperson, but the chairperson and the other commissioners and the other trainees, they used to tell these artists that they have to give the clear message. They don't have to confuse people. So I know I'm a movie actor. I'm an artist. I understand sometimes you can give the message indirectly, but this was clear that she wanted to attract people by showing bad image. So it's not Utore, and it's not the first time. You remember last time she used Ikoma to attract people. And that time we tried to tell her that what she was doing is not right, and she apologized. So when you apologize for the first time and then you come back at the second time in the same spirit, it means we can't accept that. And we...
Right. So what is being debated on the public space right now is the fact that the commission seems to have targeted this artist alone, and of course the argument is that her music or her song, that particular song, is actually having a message against use of weed or drugs, if you may say. So the bigger picture here, as far as his music is concerned, it has a good message. And when it comes to her being punished for using that picture that she used to promote her song, the argument is seems to be like selective justice.
I know people were saying that the Tory deserved the same punishment, and what I said before in the beginning of this interview, we started from Pasi, but this is not the end. It's continuous, and
yeah. But then the question is, where were you when the question or the situation of J. Pauli came up? And this is exactly what the argument is.
I understand. J. Pauli was under the courts. This was a crime, and this is violation of values. It's totally different. But what I will say at the end of the day, J. Pauli deserved the same. So when you are to start something, you really have to get a point where we start something from. We started from Pasi. We have no choice. We have never signed this. And if we are to sign more, we really have to start from somewhere. We started from passing.
Right. And so you see, the magnitude of J. Pauli's was even in court, a bigger issue than Pasi's, which is just a picture which brought this kind of reactions, and yet she gets all this kind of stripping of her title. How do you explain?
Actually, it is going to be a problem if we start from Pasi and we end just by punching Pasi only. But people should have to wait and see what we are planning for the future. When someone is in Nore and abused the Utore, what we have to do. So this was this happened this way. So, but we are planning more for our Inore and see how we can keep the values the way it has to. Yeah, that's true, because I'm sure people did not know her, they didn't know the song, because the song was not out yet. But it's fine if they are to know Pasi, if they are to know songs. What we are focusing for is to see the values being protected. And I'm very sure she's the one to make decisions. She's the one to apologize. She's the one to protect her Utore, or to recall her name as Inore.
If you were to take this action again, is there anything you'd do differently, or you'd take the same action as you've done?
So actually, I learn more about this. When you are to punish someone, and you really have to look in different corners. For the future, I'm very sure that if we are to punish our Inore, it's really good to look in different corners, different angles, because people will judge the decision, because it's not a good decision, but the way they are judging it, because I'm sure if we came up with 10 names, it could be fine, but people just came up because they saw that ready when the others were doing wrong like her, and I would say that was my mistake. I don't want to apologize because I stand on what I did, but for the future, we learn by mistake sometimes. When you do something today, tomorrow you can do it differently.
Right, and so that's the argument. You want Pasi to apologize, but you, as the chair of the commission, you're not ready to apologize for having done this decision without looking at all the aspects, as you just said yourself.
I think that's what I did, because I said in the future we're going to do it differently, but I'm not going to force Pasi to apologize, because as Inore, she didn't know what to do. If she wants to keep the name, she'll apologize. If not, it's up to her.
And would you apologize yourself?
I did.
Would you apologize?
Yes, please.
I mean, probably it skips the conversation.
I said, I'm sorry, we didn't look in different angles that caused this kind of discussion. Mm-hmm. If before taking this decision, if I brought like 5 names or 10 names, because we do have artists who are trained and are abusing this name of Utore, but we have never approached them before. This lady was advised with different people. We approached her. She said sorry, and for her it was the second time. For others, maybe it would be good if we approached different people in this issue, but because we just came with the name of Pasi, I said next time we are going to do it differently.
Oh, so the apology is not for Pasi,
sure. No, for sure. No.
To the public.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's not for Pasi. I'm not sorry for Pasi. I'm sorry for the public who has been waiting for me or for my institution to punish more people. Then they found myself just removing the name from Pasi, not for others. I don't have sorry for Pasi. I have sorry for public.
There you have it. I'm not sorry to Pasi, but I'm sorry to the public for not actually doing this even more. This is what the Executive Secretary of the National Electoral Commission was actually saying pertaining to this. He would actually do the same if he was to actually carry out the same exercise. Let me now bring this particular conversation right. We'll keep on calling Julian, who's representing Profem to Sehama. And it's also important for us to make it clear that we did reach out to Pasi herself, but She was not able to come to the program due to personal reasons, and so it is important for us to make that very clear. Let me just come here to our studio panelists, and I want to start, first of all, to get your reactions. DJ Pius, as an artist yourself, before we get deeper into understanding what the moral values are from Dr. Vuningoma here. What is your take, listening to what Moiki has actually said out there, based on why he took this decision and why he feels that it is Pasi who needs to apologize and not him or his commission?
First of all, thank you for having me on the panel. As a musician, and it's important for people to know that also musicians have different perspectives of lives. They have families, they have children, and I'm very sure Pasi also has a kid. So I feel like the decision was, first of all, it was harsh, yes. It was drastic. It was some measures could have been taken before maybe the decision is made. For example, I just heard now that she was summoned before for a different case, and she apologized for it. And for this particular case, was she summoned? Was she given a heads up? Was she, for example, as we are advised every day, we have a community as musicians where we have representatives where they're approached and then maybe asked to approach the musician herself and explain herself before having to do to see that later, maybe even online, surprisingly. So I don't know if Pasi was reached. I don't know if she was at home and then so boom, the letter is out. Let's
narrow down to the specific reasons as to why this action was actually taken, and I want to hear from you also as a musician, the use of material to actually hype the coming video or piece of work that you're working on, because this is where the problem is. Bamoriki says that he's actually listened to this song, it has good message, but when you are going to sell people a message using a cover that has bad message, then don't expect people to actually appreciate it. That the picture was confusing. It is not going hand in hand with what the content was supposed to be in the music. So how do you approach this as a musician?
Now there are two parties involved. There's a graphic designer and there's a musician. So one is portraying the message through lyrics and music. Another one is an artistic designer. So those two minds met, drafted something that they feel is going to portray the message in the song. Could they have done something differently? Probably yes. Did they think that what they did is the proper, accurate way of addressing what they feel like should be addressed in this generation? Probably yes. Does it violate some morals of our culture and degrade our personal perspective as Rwandese people? Probably yes. So as I'm saying, there are many things that people should have tackled before the public getting to realize what is happening. This could have been done behind closed doors and maybe come to a sounding result before making it a public outcry.
Chantal, you are definitely a feminist. And of course, what is actually being said here is that, especially from Profam Twesehamu, they're actually saying that they have been seeing several artists actually promoting content that devalues the value of a woman. And specifically, the case of Pasi here, they say that this is what really happened. Do you read it in the same way?
Thank you, Anago, for having me. I really appreciate that I'm part of this discussion. So for me, I'm a feminist and I work with different organizations, civil society organizations in Rwanda, but I have to put a disclaimer that my views, the views that I'm going to represent tonight are my personal views. They're not affiliated to any organization. So personally, I think this is bigger than we think. This has to be analyzed from different angles. We have to differentiate between two things that should really be clear. something that we call sexual objectification of women's bodies. Mm-hmm. This is something that is done in advertisements, in media, in different music, where they show women's bodies as objects or treat women's bodies as objects. So this is something that is happening, that also happens in Rwanda, is done by different artists. Then on the other hand, we also have the aspect of women's bodily autonomy. That is, women having a right to decide what to do with their bodies. So we have to differentiate that. The first one is something that I personally also are not supportive of. I don't support that media or music videos should project women as mere objects, especially when they have not consented to this. Yeah. But when it comes to a woman having to decide what to do with their own body, this is where we have to decide, this is where we have to recognize this right, because women can be given all the rights, women can have all the rights, but if they don't have a right on their own bodies, then it's a problem.
So bringing it to the context of this particular conversation, you want to say that if any artist, wherever they are or whoever they are, if they decided in their artwork for promotion of their video, they use their body, whatever part of the body it is, then they should be given that right to do that. Is this what you're saying?
Everyone should have a right to their own body. I mean, it's their own body. So everybody should be able to have this right. But how it becomes a problem is how we have come here. So today, we're having this discussion not because a man did the same. What sparked this debate was because a woman dared to show and decide to maybe use, express in different ways in a way that for some people found that contradicts to their values. So this is where it becomes a problem. So we need to ask ourselves, for all this time we have in the music industry in Rwanda, haven't there ever been situations where male artists use women's bodies in their videos? Mm-hmm. Definitely yes. So how come we had never before denounced these things? How come it's now that a woman did it, and now it becomes a problem? So that's where I'm seeing double standards and how we're viewing this thing. And for me, maybe later on, I want to elaborate to see how, for me, this links to the whole issue of Rwanda being a patriarchal society that wants to control women's bodies, that wants to have a certain women's bodies, which is not the same for men's bodies. Right. So this is something that maybe we'll elaborate on more on, and that's why that's what mostly I'll be speaking on tonight.
True. Let's look to you, Dr. Vuningoma. Of course, your work and your institution has the word culture right there. And of course, many people have been confused. I mean, what defines us as Rwandan? Because some people have argued that we use this word culture, umucho, to just infringe on the rights of particular people in the society. Like Chantal said earlier on, that this seems to be an attack on the women folk. Is this what you read as well?
Yeah, thank you very much for, first of all, involving us in discussion. Because it is high time we talk about this openly, without any misgivings or hidden ideas or background that is not clear. But first of all, what do we mean by this? When we talk about culture, we are talking about lives of the people. We are talking about the whole nation. We are talking about the identity. We are talking about people's lives. Even the artists we are talking about, you know, they are Rwandans before being artists. And once you have subscribed to such an identity, then you have the duty bound to protect what makes those people proud to be what they want to be.
Right.
Let me give you an example. In order to understand even this mechanism, we must understand what we mean by culture.
What do we mean by culture? Educate us tonight.
There are three things. There is cultural heritage, what we get from our ancestors. The Kinyarwanda we inherited from them. Cultural values we inherited from them, that we call indangagaciro and kirazira. Those made them what they are, and they relegated this to us, and this is what we are, including everybody. Then comes the second round, where you have borrowed values from different cultures, from colonial times to today. The wearing of clothes. Education we got, languages we borrowed from them. All these we filtered, we did not swallow them wholeheartedly, and we made them Rwandan. We Rwandanized all these values and made them ours. Then the third level is the creativity, where you have in the creativity circle all the values that actually make the lives of the people good, but they have to filter them, not to go behind the whole thing and hide behind what we call in literature poetic license.
Yeah.
You see, the problem with the artists, it seems to say that they allowed everything. In freedom of expression, you can express yourself, you can say what you want to do, how you want to do it, where, when, in a poetic license, but there are limits to what you can do. Especially when you are at a certain barrier where you say, beyond this, it might be wrong. If you don't have that consciousness of limiting yourself to creative things that will endanger other people's or give bad examples or even destroy yourself, then it is very dangerous.
It is dangerous.
And this is where, I'm sorry to say that even this lady, person, we are giving her popularity by discussing this, because what she did, it's not the first time. I'm here to bear testimony, because she came to our office in the first round when she used
Banana leaves.
banana leaves. It was something, a shock to many people who rang our offices. I am from Rwanda Academy of Language and Culture. We are in charge of Rwandan culture for the preserving it and promoting it.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Is not looking convinced by that.
It doesn't matter. This is an opinion.
Yeah.
And I think we agree to disagree.
Yes.
In this situation. What we need here is actually to debate what happened, so that maybe we lay the ground to put barriers to certain things that endanger our lives, including yours.
But do you think the Secretary of the National Electoral Commission rushed?
Let me finish the background for everybody to understand the issues behind cultural values. And once this culture evolves around these three circles, you get to know that our culture is not the static culture as people tend to say. It is an evolutive culture. And the cultural values should never be abused, because you abuse it to your detriment and detriment of others. And this is where all of us, Banyarwanda, are very proud to preserve our values, because they give us that identity. Should something happen in the way it continues to happen, then something must be asked. Are we being serious with our own being? Because we are talking about people's lives. We are not talking about an individual. We are not talking about anybody, especially, but our values, are we preserving them? Aren't we betraying ourselves? If you don't betray yourself, then go ahead and create. But once you use a poetic license, you create and you go beyond. It creates what happened.
So it brings problem. Allow us to.
You asked me about the decision.
You have made the same decision.
I certainly would have, because we have got to put some kind of clarification in what we are doing. Percy, when she came to our office, our mission in Rwanda Academy of Language and Culture is to advise and give our impression in order to heal. We cannot rush to punish because we are consulted. Banyarwanda come to us and tell us this is bad, and we have seen it even before that.
Right.
Now, for the chairman of Itorero to have taken that decision is a clear sign of sending, please, you came to Itorero willingly, you were not forced to go there, and you are bound by that signature of Indatabigwi of what you are going to do.
Right.
To be blind twice is a dangerous thing to any human being with the capacity to reason.
Right.
The first time when she apologized and even written and did everything, we thought in Iraq that it was good. This is a lady who has understood the gravity of what she had done by trespassing or going beyond what she could have done.
She would have done.
So for this decision to come, to me, it serves even a warning
to many others.
To many others.
All right, it's very clear. Thank you so much for that very deep background. And let me just go back to DJ Paz here. Artists, as he said, feel that they are free to do everything that they want. But of course, on the other flip side, artists are creative people. I mean, of course, they are thought to be and also act as creative people. Do you think what is happening today, as far as this conversation, and of course, mostly on the issue of our cultural values, is this limiting the creativity or the creative level of artists? Because Dr. James says that culture is also evolves.
Well, first of all, I would like to address this. As he said, it's a debate. So I would like us not to have many minutes of one person talking, because either way it's going to lose the focus.
So feel free to just come in. Feel free to interject. Yes.
Let's interact on this, because first of all, we all agree that we should have some morals and cultural respect, for most especially because we are Rwandese. But then also we have to understand and know that the way that the universe is these days, we move very fast. For example, what Doctor faced 60 years ago or 50 years ago is not what I'm facing now. You understand? He wasn't exposed to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. So I would like him to also tackle the topic of culture change and the way the years move. Are we going to stick to our culture without really embracing development and technology? Because what I'm looking at right now is an artist being very creative, maybe over-creative, but in a sense of us moving forward. Because if we are talking about the people, because he addressed that it's not about the artist, it's also the people. Yeah. So did we give the chance to people to actually make a decision and say, okay, this is bad for us? Or did we make the decision for the people? Yeah. Are we allowing our children or people that we raise to social media to actually check into our phones and go on Twitter and Facebook so they can see what she actually portrayed, because it's an artwork. So if you don't have a phone, if you don't have a computer, if you're not on internet, you won't see it. You will hear the song, but you won't see it. So if your child is able to access a phone below the age of 15 or 13, it's a problem. Because maybe she was not targeting that person. She was targeting a bigger, older audience. So there are many things that us, the youth of this generation, are facing that they did not face. As they say in Kinyarwanda, ijoro ribara warirari. So if he did not grow up in the generation of weed, you know, of cocaine, of all those things, he's not going to understand it like Pasi. Yeah. So maybe Pasi has experienced it and she wants to express it in that view. Yeah. You know, I am not in favor of Pasi at all. Yeah. I'm just addressing a general
And that's what
aspect
we are
of
actually here
life,
for,
you know?
because- yeah.
Yeah, because as we are moving, it's going to happen a lot. So
And so you have a worry because
yeah, I have a worry because if it's happening like
the
this,
Executive Secretary said
yes,
it will not end
it's
with
an
passing.
example.
Yes, that
So
was just an
I'm
example.
also in that basket.
So you're worried as an
Yes,
artist.
yes, because it's a limitation
Yeah.
to the craft,
Yeah.
to the thinking, and to the way that we see things in our general perspective of the youth that is actually doing art and music and crafts and everything. Because if I was a painter, I wouldn't paint like the old painters. I would paint people that I would paint things that the generation wants to see.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are going to be associated with, for example, not wildlife and everything, but development and sculptures and skyscrapers and everything. So you understand, the way we move, he's going to explain to us how culture is going to move forward with generation and technology. Yeah.
Right. Chantal, and actually what I want is feel free to jump in. Don't wait for me to ask you guys questions. It's not an interview, it's a debate. So just jump in, just say I don't agree with this or I agree with this. Talk to me about the decision by Profem Tweseham to come out and actually say we are actually backing this decision, because this is what some people, especially women, have actually said brought a level of surprise, because they felt that we have so many other issues affecting women. Why would you come in to actually talk about this very petty issue which they feel did not harm any woman at all? What was your thought on this decision by Profem Tweseham?
Thank you. I do understand from where they're coming from, because not only Profem but other women that I've interacted with out here, women, girls, most of them perceive these issues around exposure of women's bodies as something that is that takes the dignity of women and girls. They perceive it that way. But
do you agree?
I don't agree with it, because like Doctor was saying, we're coming from the notion of culture, and like he has said, culture evolves, culture changes, morals are subjective. I want us to pause and go back to pre-colonial Rwanda, Rwandan society.
Yeah.
If you had seen different photos from that era, you'd have thought, now today you'd have thought, this how could girls and boys be naked? Because what we see from that time, but at that time it was not perceived as something that is as an issue, as something that is yeah, it was not perceived that way. So how did we get here? We got here because, like you said, culture evolved, but there are also other factors that have influenced how we see things today. And one of them is religion. I want us to also not forget how what we define as morals today, to a bigger extent, have also been shaped over time by different issues, by different factors, including religion. So it's going to be very hard to separate, for some people, what they call moral values, to separate them from what they also consider as their religious values. So they are kind of intertwined, and most of the time, because like I said, Rwanda being a patriarchal society, you're going to realize most of the time these are values that most of the time oppress women, that want to keep women in a conservative position. So yes, women do sometimes do perceive that this is something that is degrading for women, but actually that's not true. Actually, asking women to be conservative, asking women to reserve themselves, it's linked to the whole patriarchal notion of controlling women's bodies, of wanting women to be subordinate as compared to men. And again, that's why I said it's interesting, because we're here because a woman sparked this debate, a female musician sparked this debate. It has been happening for the past years, but we didn't come to the debate this thing when it was a male who did this thing. So that's why we have to really, people have to separate what we're calling as degrading women's bodies and denying women's right to exist, to show themselves, to express themselves in different ways. Right. I also wanted to show that, briefly to share that this notion is also the same notion that Rwandan society has on issues of sexuality. They were not as a taboo pre-colonial Rwanda. Sexuality wasn't as a taboo, but now we're seeing it as so a taboo because of different factors that have influenced that, religion being one of them. And with that, realize now we're a society that wants to control, that wants to manage, that wants mostly women's bodies and women's sexualities, wants to keep them in check. And that's where we have a problem. And we have to go back to think and analyze how we got here, that we see now is as a problem when we say a woman's body. Yeah.
What was wrong culturally?
Chantal, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you on the ground. When you look at this country, the value it gives to women, there is nothing degrading in what this government is doing, in what we are moving towards nurturing our young girls to be the right mothers of the future. If you compare the past and the present, there is a danger of misrepresenting a woman today. A woman of yesterday was in a context of that society where even nakedness was not seen as taboo. Today, because we are used now to certain values, we adopted and made them ours. It is that controversy where you see now, even those we accepted, the naked bodies we are talking about today contradicts exactly what the evolution we are in today. Today, we are talking about self-respect. Today, we are talking about respecting others. It is a question of total responsibility by everyone. It is this society is not degrading a woman at all, in my view. And it will be important for artists to chip in and bring in added value to the values given to the women today.
Yeah, but they would
what is surprising,
we cannot all do the same thing.
It doesn't matter.
Style.
We are not supposed to be duplicates.
Yes.
Diversity is always good because it brings something tangible.
Yeah.
But the danger here is when freedom is there, you use it, but when you go beyond it, then you create danger, not to yourself, but even to others. Because you see, you are a mother. He said that Percy might be a mother.
Yeah.
What examples do we give to the young generation as young artists? Positive values, negative values, it is you to put on the balance and the show, actually, that what you are doing, you are being more responsible, duty-bound to everyone, and are very conscious of the misuse of poetic license. I am insisting on this poetic license because it is an issue today in our creative industry. The CCIs this country is talking about, that is the culture and the creative industries, we need to move in a diversity with responsibility.
Right, but we don't have much time. I'm told we just have about 15 minutes to go, very unfair. But let's talk about regulation-wise, because Profem is saying that RALC should work together with artists and media houses to analyze and prevent any content that goes against Rwandan cultural values from getting to the public in the first place. So how is this going to happen, or how has this been happening, that such a thing slipped and went to the public, and now we did damage control later?
You see, there is a debate going on of regulatory system of whatever is created. Unless the very people themselves come together, understand the limits of poetic license, and then agree together with us. We are there. I know even our ministry is preparing a kind of regulatory mechanism to be shared, to be discussed by everybody, so that we all know our limits. Maybe some of these things are happening because it was opened and the regulatory system was not there. But the government cannot regulate this. It can only come in and say, please, be responsible. If you go beyond the poetic license, they will tell you, stop, come and we talk. Don't you see this thing, this, like she did. Because the first stage that lady did to us was really responsible. To come and apologize and recognize that what she has done was not showing a very good example. Then we got surprised, even in the LARC. In the culture, we said, hey, Is she the one? He said, yes, she's the same person.
Doctor, could you...
Then we say...
Could it be maybe that it's because it's the same person and it's recurrent that she has done it maybe more than once?
Pardon?
Could it be that maybe it's because it's the same person that has done the same mistake twice instead of actually being the problem?
But do you think continuing to apologize, you do something wrong again, then you apologize, do you think that is responsible?
Right.
No.
The question here is this, and let me ask it to the artist here. We've heard of societies that actually, and even Rwanda should actually be having this in the media, what we call the watershed period, and then we have period where adult-oriented content can be able to be aired. We're talking about morning hours where you cannot play or actually talk about issues that are going to be bad for the children. And then we have periods, let's say from 10 in the night onwards till late. We expect that all kids, for responsible parents, to have already sent their children to go to sleep. Do you think that artists should be allowed to produce their content and then leave the regulation of when this content should be put to the hands of those who are supposed to actually control that? Is this what you want?
Absolutely, because you don't want an artist to be limited in any way. Poetic values, I understand that. But then it shouldn't be the artist's job to regulate what goes into the public. You can just go, I'm not saying that's how Rwanda does its things, but if I would ask you also another question, I would ask you, in any other country, would we be sitting here?
There are those who would not be sitting here.
We wouldn't be sitting here discussing such thing that happened. But because of our culture and everything that is happening in Rwanda, yes, we're here. So if there's a limit to any artistic person, they don't express themselves as they should be expressing themselves. So do you want that to happen in a society where you want actually people to be creative and portray whatever that they're feeling? Maybe you could put a certain body to screen what they're doing.
So what do you want as an artist, as I go to read the text? What do you want? If
First
you
of
are
all,
speaking on behalf of artists or on your own behalf as an artist?
First of all, I would like the public to also be part of it.
And
yes,
and
but
the public is all about this.
I would like the public to be actually the first people to be considered. If they are complaining, then we jump in and say, why is the public concerned about this?
So if the public does not complain, all should be well.
Well, not so well, but at least it's not a scandal.
Yeah.
Number two, we as musicians, artists and everything,
The public complained.
we have a task.
Not the whole public.
We have a task of presenting, acting, because we're followed by many people, as people who are going to be used by the government or any other parastatal body to air out sexuality, drug abuse, everything. We are the first people to tackle that. So if people are limiting it, how are we actually going to do it? Because we are the people who live in that situation every day, more than any other person. So I would like us to also have the freedom in that case.
You have the freedom for that.
Yeah.
What do you want? I mean, in all this conversation of morality, because most of the time we've had people complain that what should be the line that I should not cross and what should be our moral. I mean, when you talk about mucho, there's this picture here of an advert where someone is bezuing two women. That one goes against our mucho. Yet someone somewhere sat and thought this is creative. So what do you want moving forward, Chantal?
Well, personally, I see a problem when you're talking about the issues of policing or regulating morals. Because first of all, morals, like I said, they're subjective. I mean, whose morals are we talking about? And according to whose standards? So if here we're living, this is something that is subjective, based on from a person to person. So we are going to have a problem here. Like I said, we're going to look it into a lens that is already problematic, that already stigmatizes and puts women in a different position. So for me, the issue of morals, we shouldn't be here talking about regulating morals, really. No, we shouldn't.
Nobody should regulate
what, like I said before, what should be looked in is where media or musicians use women's bodies as objects without their consent. But apart from that, women, I have to emphasize, women or any other person should have a right to their own bodies, should have a right to express what they're producing in different ways. Right. For me, that's my position.
That's your position. Dr. James,
but you
says we should not police
but you cannot have both ways. No, you have to choose. If you say women can use their bodies for this, and then you find the public is shocked, and you live in a country like this, Rwanda, where women values are given a priority. Yeah. It is contradictory.
But
to me,
we have people who are actually feeling that the government is in the business of killing art. When you say that you want to be watching them, staying on their back.
Look, the government, this government is for the people also. This government puts mechanisms allowing everybody to do what he wants, but with responsibility. Where there is irresponsibility, the government comes to you and say, oh, are you sure what you are doing is right? That is the correct thing. Unless somebody says, no, I'm not in this country, I want to do what I want, we live in a jungle. This country is not a jungle.
This country is not a jungle.
No, I don't think it is a jungle. All of us have got responsibility. I have a profession. I am an administrator. She has a profession. He has a profession. All our profession are there for complementarity in order to live peacefully in this country. Yes. This is a question of responsibility and a duty for everyone. The government is not doing. She questions very well this title of policing morality. Morals are everywhere. You have cultural heritage, you have religious values, you have all that are imported. They are all there for us.
Right. And but the morals, they say, are subjective, according to who? Whose morals?
They are subjective. I agree. And this way we cannot say we are going to control them. But we appeal to everybody to be responsible to that.
So what assurance is giving the artist?
The morality she has, maybe she got it from different circles, from the family, from the church, from her education, everything. Like I did, like you did, like I did. But something from any of us that will contradict that way of being, that togetherness, that unity, would be dangerous. Right. That means I check myself, you check yourself, and everyone checks not to cross the boundaries. And for the artist, the thing that is terrible, we have been repeating it. Creativity does not allow everything. To create, do anything the way you want, and it is reliable, it is good, but make sure that you respect others.
Right. Okay, let's take a look at what we have had so far here. King Gabo really quickly says, when you say culture, what do you mean? Have you ever seen red hair in our culture? Someone in the panel has red hair and they don't complain. Even my grandma asked if she is Rwandese. I don't know. This is all about the intergenerational changes. A lot is actually changing. We have Gustav Emilian saying, yeah, Pius is using his phone on the table. Isn't he butchering our culture? There you go. And of course, another one here from Fred Kaitare. He actually says that these regulations and limits in the name of Umucho could limit creativity and imagination. It's like telling them what to think instead of letting them know how to think. There you have it. Another one here. If you hear any tweet that you want to respond to, just jump quickly. Samira says we shouldn't be here regulating morals. Morals are subjective. This is what she says. Another one here from Christian says, instead of promoting our culture, the so-called modern artists are acting like the agents of foreign cultures. They should not be tolerated. Pius, what do you think about that? Is it true that you guys are just agents of the international community? You want to act like the artists who are from the West?
We aren't.
You are not?
We're not.
Eva says, do we really want to censor artists' work? Where do we draw the line? Should we also ban or punish people using foreign products? That includes obscene words and or nudity. If the public is not responsive to their art, artists will adapt to match the audience and the market. All right. Another one here from Dr. Magnifique says that we are asking our artists too much, and I'm sure our artists need a safe space to think, to innovate, and to bring their products without fear of being judged, without fear of expression. Otherwise, the art would lose its sense. Sadly, this is where we have to end this conversation right here. We hope that maybe soon we'll be able to have some extra time, because we have a lot to cover within only 55 minutes. And of course, it's also our plea that any institution that acts on behalf of the public and makes a statement that is on the public domain should be able to freely come on this particular platform to just stand by their statements. Otherwise, it looks like we are evading or avoiding to be accountable to our statements. I'm sure those who are concerned with this statement I'm saying know better what I mean. So we want to say thank you for being a part of In Focus. Let's keep talking. It doesn't end here, but it continues on our social media platforms. Let's keep talking about this issue. We'll see you again, same time, same place. As always, I'm Eugene and Nangwe. Goodbye for now.